Please welcome our friend and valued partner, Brendan Bechtel. So Brendan, why has the CEO of Bechtel accepted an invitation to speak at North America's Building Trade Union's Legislative Conference?
It's pretty easy, because Sean told me to. No, I mean, seriously, Sean, it's such a privilege and an honor to be here on behalf of my hundreds of thousands of Bechtel colleagues. If you take one thing away from my being here today, it's just a big thank you. It's a thank you for the partnership that our institutions have shared for a long time. Bechtel, as a company, turned 125 years young this year, and we've been doing a lot of, thank you, thanks. We're just starting to get the hang of it, but you know, we've been doing a lot of reflecting on our history, and we've realized how much some key mutually beneficial partnerships have been such a key part of our success. And my relationship with you, Sean, and our relationship with the building trades has been a huge enabler of what we've accomplished together. So I think I'm here to help celebrate that long history of partnership and hopefully to help set an example for others in the industry about what happens when you partner in the right ways with you all. Sean, just, you know, our more recent history together, if you think about what we and your members have done together with support from all of the leadership in this room, it's pretty awesome. So we just recently completed Pennsylvania's, for Shell, we completed the Pennsylvania Chemicals Project, which at the time was the largest union construction job in the country. We're in the process of completing Vogtle outside of Augusta for Southern Company and their partners. That was the second biggest union construction job in the country. We're just getting started on the big semiconductor fab together in Ohio, just the first of 4 phases. You know, hugely exciting opportunity that'll employ, you know, thousands of your brothers and sisters for a long time, hopefully. We've just signed up a project labor agreement at the Mobile Launcher 2 facility, which will be the next step in getting astronauts to Mars and the moon for NASA. Pretty awesome. And then we've just signed an MOU for a PLA on the really important critical minerals mine project Nevada Thacker Pass, which will be some of the recent ad for more lithium for the EV value chain here in the United States. So I mean, and this is all just in the last 5 or 6 years of that 125-year history. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm here because our partnership with you all is so important, and it's only going to get even more important going forward when you think about what's happened with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the bipartisan infrastructure law, when you think about the Inflation Reduction Act and all the clean energy provisions of that, when you think about the CHIPS Act and what it's going to do for semiconductors. There's a bow wave of work coming. It's a generational opportunity to build America together. It's going to, we think, lift up middle-class families. It's going to help us bring critical supply chains back here to the United States. It's reinvigorating manufacturing already. It's going to help us accelerate the energy transition, make us an energy leader in all ways as a country. It's really exciting. And it's going to make us as a nation more competitive globally. As someone who works around the world, that's one of the things I'm most excited about, is to see us step out and step ahead as a country. Now, we do have a challenge, which I think we might talk about, which is that when we add up all the prospects that we know about and the ones that we think are coming but haven't yet been announced based on all of this activity, we're forecasting potentially a shortfall of hundreds of thousands of skilled craft professionals. I'm not speaking just for Bechtel, but for the whole industry. It's going to take all of us working together as one team and creating a one-team mentality to be able to solve that challenge. I'm optimistic we can do it. But by the way, I think a shortage potentially of hundreds of thousands of your brothers and sisters is a good problem to have from your perspective. So, but I think, Sean, as we think about how are we going to solve that challenge, we're going to solve it together through our collaboration with you guys. And you've been a key partner to our success over 125 years, and we know that you'll be an even bigger partner going forward.
Brendan, you mentioned the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. I know that you, as the head of the Business Roundtable's Infrastructure Committee, helped lead that effort by the BRT to advocate for the legislation. And I know we had lots of conversations and we partnered. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thanks, Sean. I mean, I felt like we were running into each other in the halls of the Capitol, and we were certainly trading notes along the way to figure out how we could come together and help do something big for the country, do something bipartisan for the country at a time when it wasn't clear that that was always going to be possible. But we, you know, working in partnerships like this, we lined it up, we went for it, took the shot on goal. I will say it was really awesome to be part of the Business Roundtable sort of CEO community and seeing all the CEOs who, you know, every company has its own agenda and its own interests, but everybody sort of put their parochial interests to the side and focused on where we could come together and find common ground. And it happened pretty quickly amongst the CEOs. We did a study and we realized that for every dollar invested in infrastructure, it unleashes $4 in economic growth. And that was just a really compelling reason to come together. And of course, it's doing exactly what we all hoped it would do. It's creating opportunities to lift up families, to provide good paying jobs for the long term, and lift up communities. So I think it was a major win, obviously for our industry, for your members, but also for the country. And now, as you know, it's like you win the job, now you got to deliver. And I got to tell you, the thing that I was the most adamant about as the BRT was working on our policy position was the taxpayers of this country are going to entrust industry and labor to deliver on this promise about the social benefits of this work. And it's up to us to deliver. And it'll be us working together. So I'm excited to do that as your partner. And it's a big ask. The country's counting on us. But I think they should be. And we're up for it.
Thank you. You know, following along with that theme, the news keeps talking about the worker shortage being the biggest challenge in our industry. Given this unprecedented federal investments to rebuild infrastructure across the country, how is Bechtel approaching this challenge, and how can the union support your efforts?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's first, I'll say the shortage is real. It's not, you know, this is not some economist in a room somewhere throwing darts at a board. It's real. We're seeing it real time on our active projects. It's my, I don't, you know, the sky's not falling, but it's my number one concern. It's the biggest throttling constraint for our projects overall is, can we field all the staff that we need and all the construction professionals on the tools that we need to take on the amount of work that we see coming? So I think, you know, I talked already, when we do that math, for the whole industry, we see potentially hundreds of thousands being the shortfall. The way we're approaching it, Sean, is, you know, like I think any good contractor will, we've got our own internal programs that we're doing to try to recruit and train and upskill and retain and be the employer of choice. But we're also leaning heavily into our partnerships with you all, like ARPs, apprentice. You guys know what ARPs are. I don't have to explain that acronym, I hope. Helmets to hard hats. But we're really keen to partner on anything that's going to help attract more people into the industry, that's going to get the word out about what a great career being in the industry is. And it's going to take all of us figuring that out. Particularly when you think about it, you know, think about how much we've been doing when it comes to safety and quality and increasing the diversity of the candidate pool that are working on these projects. And one of the things that I know is really important to both of us is, as this huge bow wave of work is coming, and as we're hopefully welcoming new brothers and sisters into the industry, how do we not give up any of those gains we've made when it comes to safety and quality? That's something we're really focused on, and I know you guys are too. And then last, Sean, you know, we sort of talked about it in the last topic, but continuing to work together to advocate for policies that support worker training and recruitment and apprenticeships.
Very good, thank you. The building trades value proposition is very similar to that of Bechtel. Both organizations sit on the board of Trades Futures. Can you talk about existing programs to build the talent pipeline and develop skills across those trades?
Yeah, well, I think, so I just really want to, I kind of want to plus everybody up from the building trades on the launch of the Trades Futures organization, and I think really taking ARPs to the next level. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do together, and you're really leading on it, but I think it's one of the most important things that you can be doing to get ready for the next generation of infrastructure building talent. It's, you know, what we can do is we can be a good partner to you all. We can help, you know, get owners interested and help bring owners to the table. You know, we can't, as much as we might like hanging out, Sean, we've also got to work with all of your local representatives and the local trades councils. We know how important that is. They've got the personal relationships in their communities that'll help get people interested. I think the thing that I would want to say for any, I can't imagine there are any doubters in this room about their effectiveness, but we're a real believer at Bechtel in ARPs, and we know they work because we've used them and we've seen them work. And so 3 of those projects I just talked about, you know, PennChem with Shell, Vogtle, the big nuclear power plant, and then our uranium processing facility at Y-12 Oak Ridge Nuclear Security Complex in Tennessee. We've had ARPs on all 3 of those projects, and we've seen higher employee retention. So apprentices that come in through the ARP program, they stay. On these big mega projects like this, they can actually complete the entire program on one project without having to relocate, which is pretty amazing. They're going to go through that whole program and emerge as a journeyman. And as they're doing that, they're learning while they're earning. They're accruing health benefits and retirement benefits. I mean, it's awesome. And then the thing I'm really excited about too, Sean, is and of course you all have designed them to do this, but the ARPs are really driving diversity in the workforce. So at Vogtle, our ARP participants were 80% from underrepresented groups, and 40% were women. And so I think that's an area, you know, every company, every employer, everyone's trying to, what else can we do to help accelerate the diversity of our talent pools? I think the ARPs are a huge part of that.
And this is a little bit off script, but
we never do that.
Yeah, you know, the Business Roundtable and the building trades have a long history, yeah. And it wasn't always a good history. But you know, since you've engaged at the CEO level, we've really seen a real change in attitude with the Business Roundtable, who are starting to recognize that we're not your grandfather's building trades anymore, and we can be of value. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship from your perch there? Yeah,
I would just say, I think, well, first, that's nice you just say that. It takes 2 to tango. So to your point, I think there's a recognition amongst CEOs that it's, you know, particularly with NAB2 and all of your, you know, constituent organizations and members, it's a more collaborative, you got to look after your members, that's your job, but it's a more collaborative approach than maybe CEOs from other industries have to deal with. I'm not in a position to comment on that. But when I hear people sort of whinge about that, I say, you know, that's really not been my experience working with this industry and its representatives. And, you know, again, what we need to be successful as a business is we need a skilled, safe, high quality, high performance workforce. And, you know, you all do that exceedingly well in the places where you're set up to do that well. And so I think and I think the fact that we have more CEOs that are promoting the value of the work that you all do to help enable company success, you guys have earned it. So I think I would say thank you and congratulations, because it wouldn't be, yeah, please, yeah. So I think, and look, we've said this, and when I first came into this, when I stepped into this relationship between our 2 institutions, and Sean gave me, I'm not sure if it was an orientation or a disorientation speech at the beginning, but you sort of said, hey, look, our 2 organizations have been around a long time. We don't always agree, but we will always listen to each other, and we will always talk it out, and we will always try to find a solution. And that has been 100% my experience of working with you all. And
mine too,
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. So kind of dovetails in. My entire professional career, the building trades have been advocating not just for a union workforce, we have been advocating for a workforce development model to uplift more working class people safely and securely into the middle class where they can live, work, and retire with dignity. We've been advocating to ensure workers are not just trained for a project, but equipped with the highest skills for a meaningful lifelong career. Training is at the heart of what we do jointly. No bigger contributor to our training programs than your company. From your position at Bechtel, do you have any recommendations for us how we can further our mission in providing opportunities for construction workers that we represent?
Yeah, I think first, so I said earlier, but we do work all over the world. So 25,000 projects, 160 different countries, all 7 continents. At any given point in time, we have 100 big projects going in 40 different countries. So we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. The apprenticeship model that you all have is best in class globally. So I think, and I wish that more places where we worked around the world had the kind of approach that you all. So I would keep leaning into that. Double down on what's working well would be the first answer. As a testament to how powerful those apprenticeship programs are, I hope that you're as proud to know as I am that some of our most senior and most respected executive leaders at Bechtel, including our partners, my partners in the business, fellow shareholders and owners of the company, started as apprentices on the tools. What a, yeah, but I mean, and what a testament to the power of a career in the construction industry that they can do that, right? And they got a lot of help along the way from you and your members. So I think that's awesome. Now to take it to the next level, I think we need even better and closer collaboration between contractors and I would say particularly the local halls. So one of the things one of the pieces of feedback you gave me when I came into my role, which we've tried, and we're not perfect, but we try really hard to do it better each time, is just earlier notification of what we think our requirements will be for projects that are coming down the pipeline. And, Sean, you did a really great job of explaining to me what the reality of, the local leaders at the hall is. They need time to get a training program stood up and to get support from you guys. You need to actually put people through the training, and then, right, the worst thing you can do is have people trained up and sitting on the bench with no work. So you got to right time all that. And, we have to be communicating. And look, things happen in projects, right? I'm sure none of us have ever been on a project where you ended up needing more people than you planned on because it got behind. Definitely not at our company, right? And stuff's going to happen, but you got to keep communicating. So again, we've learned to put ourselves in your shoes and thinking about, you're trying to serve your members, and you need to be able to tell them what's coming and give them a realistic forecast. So I think that's something that we can all do better on the management side to make sure that you all can tailor your training and you can right time your training to get the workforce ready and all the recruiting. I will say we're really excited. We're investing really heavily in this together in Ohio. We're trying to have that be the best example we've had together yet, and I'm expecting really good returns on that investment that we're both making and trying to get that right. The other things that I would highlight, as an employer, we really get the importance that your foremen and forewomen and your GFs make on our projects. They're the leaders in the field. The investments you make in their training before they show up on our project or once they're on our project, that is worth so much to us, and we will always want to partner to do more. We do more, as you know. We run our own foreman, forewoman, GF training on all our job sites. We try to treat them just like staff. We want to take good care of them. Ideally, we want them to follow us around all the different projects. That's what we're trying to do. But I think investing in that field-level leadership that's really leading the crews, it's such a high return on the investment for productivity, for safety, for quality, for mental health of the people doing the work. And then lastly, the thing I would say, Sean, and again, I think this is something that employers can be doing a better job too, is we need to do a better job communicating how awesome this industry is, right? I mean, it is, yeah, and I mean, think about the projects that are full of purpose that we've already talked about, and think about all the other projects that your members are working on around the country right now, and the difference that they're making for their families, for the communities, for economic growth, for our competitiveness. I mean, this is work. Everyone's looking for purpose. Like, this is so full of purpose, right? And we should do a better job selling that, marketing it, particularly to younger and more diverse people. Because right, wrong, or indifferent, there are some long-held, incorrect beliefs about our industry and what it's like to work in it. And we got to turn those on their head. And I think, yeah, that's an area for us to continue to partner. I think we can do more. Obviously, with the sort of policy tailwinds that the industry's got now, I think that creates opportunity, and we should be maximizing the communications value of that opportunity to attract more people into it. But I think, again, it's about sharing the value of this profession. It's high-paying, good, stable, long-term jobs where you can raise a family. You could join the middle class if you're not already a part of it. You can build a career, not just a job. So I think I'll stop talking now because I know the next person's going to be more interesting.
Well, I'll pull out one little thing that you mentioned, and again, a little off script, but I know that you like all of us are tremendously concerned about the mental health. Yeah. Okay, of your employees, our members. In the construction industry, we are 7 times more likely to be addicted to opioids. I believe it has a lot to do with our collective bargaining system, and you have to show up to work to get paid. And our suicide rates among our members and your employees are frightening. Yeah. And I know that CPWR got a grant from Big Pharma. We're just rolling out about 7 pilots out to different universities across the country to do some research. And I know that we've had some preliminary conversation with you, and I think that's another thing that culturally, us and Bechtel are right on the same page, caring about their employees, our members, not just the field teams, but it's up and down the chain. Yeah. And it's something that we really appreciate your engagement in.
Thanks.
And we thank you.
Can I say a word on that?
Yeah.
So I'm really, if you'll just give me a bit of self-indulgence here. So my dad led the company for 24 years before he had to step back. And over the course of his career, he changed, and we as a company helped change what an acceptable level of risk was from a safety perspective. We're really, really proud of our role and our partnership in doing that across the industry and across the world. And I think today, when we look at mental health, it is unacceptable to me that we lose 7 times as many people to suicide in our industry as we do to accidents on our projects. Think about how much effort we put into keeping people safe on our job sites. And then, for whatever reason, people go home and harm themselves. And it makes you wonder if we aren't putting the emphasis on the wrong things. And of course, we're not going to stop emphasizing safety, but we need to also somehow find the bandwidth and the focus to have a difference in people's lives inside and outside of work. And the reality is, our industry's tough. It's stressful. There's deadlines. It's high-hazard work. As I'm fond of reminding my colleagues, if it was easy, our customers wouldn't need to hire us to sweat all the details for them. They look to us with you to do the impossible. And that's a high-stress environment. So I'm glad we're beginning to have a talk about that. That's something that we've sort of declared we want to plant a flag in the ground and really lead with you on it. And we've realized as we've been getting ready to do that, we have some things to get our own house in order first, which we're doing. So now every single one of our new projects has a project-specific mental health plan. Just like for 30 years, we've had a project-specific ES&H plan. So anyways, stay tuned for more on that. This is something really near and dear to my heart personally and to us as a company. So thanks, Sean, for bringing it up.
Okay. 2 of our main policy initiatives this Congress is permitting reform, which we've had many conversations about for years and years, and passing the National Apprenticeship Act. I know permitting reform is really important to you and your customers that you serve. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so critical for this Congress to finally pass permitting reform?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the risk of oversimplifying it, Bechtel doesn't get to do projects unless our customers can get them permitted. And we can't be in a position to hire your members unless those projects happen. And so, yeah, so the biggest thing I'm working on in my role as infrastructure committee chair at BRT right now, and we're working this across committees, is permitting reform. And I think it's, look, we've made there's been some progress made, but there's a lot more to do. And it feels like maybe we're at the 80 to 90 yard line, but we got to lean into it. We also, as a company, sometimes will develop projects and take an equity stake in projects. We don't do it too often, but we do have the view of a project developer from that work. And you really got to have stable policy frameworks and predictable timelines. And I'm not going to say you could live with a longer timeline, but at least if you could predict what it'll be, then you can time your expenses and your interventions appropriately. So in my view, we need to figure out how to get nimbler. We need to figure out how do we better resource the permitting process so that there's not a big backlog of projects that need to be reviewed. We have to do all that in a way that does not give up the ground that we've made when it comes to protecting communities, protecting society, protecting the planet. Look, I mean, all of us that are in the industry know you can work safely and to high quality and still work productively and be on schedule, right? So the same thing is possible in the permitting space, I think. Right now, and there's been a lot of efforts over multiple administrations to make this better. Right now, there's lack of clear accountability between different government agencies. Things happen in series, not in parallel. You think you've resolved a lawsuit, and then it pops back up again in a different agency's process. And these all add to costs. So as the mega projects that we tend to work on together, Sean, we both know it's not uncommon for the permitting on these big complex mega projects to take longer than the actual construction. It just seems a little out of balance there. There is a 2018 Council on Environmental Quality study. So one of the groups that's helping inform the permit process, and the average duration of permitting for projects that fell under the National Environmental Protection Act, average duration for permitting was 4.5 years. And there's a lot of $40 million bridge projects in that, right? Not the $6 billion big infrastructure projects. And 25% of the projects they looked at took more than 6 years to get through the permitting. And that was back in 2018. The two examples that I think are really well known, there's a clean energy transmission line proposed to take clean power from Idaho to Oregon, and it's been in the permitting process for 14 years. When we talk to our customers in the mining sector here in the US, it can take up to 10 years to get a new mine permitted here in the US. Now, I will say there's hope because the Thacker Pass lithium project in Nevada, the administration really wanted it to happen, and they got behind it, and it got through. And so, again, I think that there's reasons for hope and optimism that we can do better when we need to. Consider, by the way, that in Canada they can permit a mine in 2 years. And, I don't feel like, I know we've got some Canadians in the crowd, right? Yeah, okay. And I would say that the Canadians aren't known for taking shortcuts when it comes to environmental protection or social consultation. So I think we could do better. So got to get nimbler, got to think about how it gets resourced. And again, I just want to be really clear too that, and the BRT's position on this is we are not advocating for any shortcuts. We're not looking to roll back environmental or social protections, but we just got to figure out how we can do some of these things in parallel rather than in series.
Yeah, it's a maddening process, and the men and women out here, work with project sponsors all across the United States in the trenches, in their areas, working on this for years and years and years, and it can really get self-defeating when you just knock one barrier down and all of a sudden another barrier picks up, and next thing you know, you're in another federal court, and it's really
But you guys, Sean, you guys are a really important voice on this.
Yeah.
You and your members and your leaders, you're in some ways you may be even more credible voice than some others. So I would just say, thank you for that advocacy work. Thank you for your partnership with the sponsors. Thank you for helping educate people about the value of permit reform and what it means for your members and their families. You're a big part of the solution, in my view.
Thank you. All right, we're coming to the end of our little fireside chat here, and this will be the last question, unless any other comments you want to make, Brennan. but
I don't want to be between this crowd and the next speaker.
no, okay.
Yeah.
I've been referring to this as the infrastructure decade, and so where do you see this relationship between the building trades and Bechtel 10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't want this to feel like too much of a bromance up here between us, or it might undermine your credibility with your members. But look, I think, just in the 10 years or so that I've been, part of the relationship with you all, it feels like we just keep getting better and better aligned, creating more and more value for each other. And that was when things weren't all that busy in our industry for a big chunk of that. And look at what the nation is asking of us now. You all, we look at you as our key partner on delivering on the opportunity that's ahead of us that really the public have entrusted to us as an industry to deliver on. Again, to lift people up, to provide opportunity, to help get communities ready for the future, to create economic growth while protecting the environment. And frankly, there's no better partner that I could imagine. It's been, as we said at the beginning, and that was it felt like there was a little smoke getting blown around at the beginning of that introduction. It was very, very nice and generous. But I will say the thing that has made this relationship work so well is trust. And it's about performing well together. It's realizing there are going to be bumps in the road and potholes and ditches, but you're going to work through them together as one team. The sort of get to know each other lesson learned that I always share with new CEO customers is I say in our 125 years of doing this, and we've made lots of mistakes and learned the hard way, the number one determinant of ultimate project success, doesn't matter the industry, doesn't matter the contract type, it's can you build and sustain a one-team mentality where everyone wants the best thing for the project. And that's been the kind of spirit that I think we and our teams have brought to this partnership and relationship, and that you all help deliver on every day and reinforce. So we're going to lean into that. Again, the nation's asked a lot of us. Now it's time to deliver. Feel great about our chances of doing that with you guys as a partner, and let's go get her done.
All right.
Sean, can I make just one final, just one final thing? And this is really, Sean, cover your ears for this. First, it's a real pleasure to get to work with this guy as closely as I do. Secondly, I really want to say on behalf of my 40 to 50,000 Bechtel colleagues today and the hundreds of thousands who came before us, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be your partner. Thanks for the way that you all approach your work with us. We are humbled by the example you set for the difference you could make in your members' lives. And they're like family to us, and we want them to always feel that way. And if they don't, we want to know about it, and we'll fix it. But I really just want to say thanks, and I feel like I'm sitting here today, not because of my last name, but because I've been chosen to represent all my colleagues to say thank you for the work that your members do. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brendan Bechtel.